And if you look within ASEAN, Indonesia, of course, has been the main laggard. And this is coupled by a couple of more country-specific problems. And I guess investors, we kind of have to really segment like what is kind of like fundamental concerns and what are concerns which are more sentimental driven. So for fundamental concerns, we can say that there's weakness in the rupiah, we have concerns of tight liquidity in the markets, etc., and of course weak domestic demand. However, there's also the combination of the sentiment element whereby there's a new change in administration. There's also concerns of change government reshuffles. There's the concerns of what role Tanah Cara will play in the economy. And of course, whether the current administration has the discipline, will maintain fiscal discipline. So we kind of need to separate that and decide like what is fundamental and what is really more sentiment. And if we can kind of disseminate that, I think we can find very good opportunities to buy to make money work in Indonesia.
Right. What about the currency picture and the fact that the currency has come to very close, actually, to the kind of levels that we saw during the Asian financial crisis? Of course, it's not there completely, but, it's been a real serious sell-off in the currency, too.
Yeah, I think the currency itself is one of the foremost concerns when emerging market investors put money into this, I guess, high emerging markets with high rates. So the way we kind of look at it is that at this stage, we see that this currency weakness is more as a general weakness of emerging market currencies versus the US dollar rather than something that's really specific to Indonesia. And a couple of points does support that, because if you look at the recent government bond auctions, government bond yields, it continues to be fairly well taken up. If you look at the 5-year, 10-year Indonesian bond yields, they are trending a little bit higher, but they still maintain within a fairly controlled range. And of course, there's also talks about like CDS spreads kind of moving up in Indonesia, but it's really off a fairly low base. And it's still way off the peaks of what we saw in 2020. So we think that there is definitely concerns on the currency, but I think there's a lot more sentiment involved, whereby there's just at this stage they're waiting for the government to execute on their plans. And the sentiment part whereby they think that the government cannot maintain its fiscal discipline. But I think we're still like kind of 2 or 3 months into the new administration. It will take time for them to convince. And once they start convinced, I think there's chance for this for currencies to be more stabilized. And of course, there's a couple of things that can cause the currency to stabilize, which is, basically maybe a weakness in the US dollar once the trade policies get a little bit more settled. And of course, the central bank side, they're also introducing a bit of measures such as, asking companies to kind of repatriating more US dollars back into the Indonesia market to help with domestic liquidity. So there are measures that help, but it just takes time.